Okay, looking at this wash that's been playing up, not really got a good description of the fault. Anyway, come out the other day and checked it over, and we had some odd resistances on these two coils, which are for the hot water and chemical. I've had that on another place where the coils resistances were lower than they should be. We changed them, and the fault went away. It's the only thing we could find. Anyway, obviously wasn't that, because we've still got issues. This little time goes all the way around, gets to the end of the wash about here, and there's a dead band where it doesn't do anything. And then when you press stop, it actually moves the timer around ready to where the start of the next wash session is, and then stops, and it will stay there until you press the wash button, but you can't do one wash after the other without having pressed the off button. Anyway, we've been playing around with it because we were wondering whether we were getting any hot water in, because they've had a problem with the water heater. Because it will wait on this level sensor here. There's a little wire down inside that tube. When the water level comes up that pipe and reaches there, it earths out between the stainless steel and the probe, and it carries on with the wash. So if the water doesn't come in, it will sit there indefinitely. Anyway, we've put it on to wash, and it's done what it should do. As far as it's got milk in it at the moment, so all we can do is let the water run on the floor. It just proves all the valves are working. Let's turn that off. Anyway, about the third or fourth time we tried it, we've just started it up now, so that valve's opened, and that will drain. If it had just emptied it, that would drain any milk out that was in that pipe. And then that'll be open for a few minutes. That should shut, and then it should start filling with cold water. But when we tried it, it just kept this valve open, and that timer didn't move. And then we got to looking at the wiring diagram. There we go, that's the cold water coming through, so we're going to hit the off button. That, I think, is our cleaning washing button in the controller. And that's fed power along here, goes through one of the cams. It's like a cam timer through one of the switches. And that should change over point, I think, depending on whether that relay's on or off, and where this switch is that dead band. So when it'll stop, because that's in the wrong place. It's like having two light switches at the top and the bottom of the stairs. Either one can turn the light on and off, but it depends on what position the other one's in. So when it's off and it's in the right place, you press this button, makes contact, sends power out round through here and then to the timer motor, and when it gets to the end, that cam clicks over, and then the only way it'll go past that is for that switch to be put in the off position. Anyway, we should have power from 3C4, which is the water pump contactor. So if that pump's running, the timer is powered up. This thing is the level sensor, which is this contact here. So if the level sensor says it's good, that will power up, so it will sit there without not going around until the level sensor says go. And then it's also fed off of this here. So the only place I could see where we would not have power to the motor when it's not running the pump and it's not filling is this switch here. And it appeared that wasn't powering it up past the point of where it was draining. It got stuck in the draining position. So I've got my doubts over that timer, but it's and we managed to get the tester on there. They're like the little three terminal switches, you know, changeover contact. That's the little switches. I think it's the one around this side because that's labelled number 2 underneath. I think it's around that side. I'm not 100% sure if those numbers correspond with the numbers on here for the like A3, A6, A4, A5, A2, A1, whether that's the same cams. Anyway, when we had the problem, we had power on one of these and the other two were just slightly fuzzy, so if you put the tester on it would buzz but it wouldn't show a voltage. And I think possibly by me hinging the door around stressed the cable a bit and then it started working. And these are obsolete now. This thing's 20 years old. Well, it'll be 20 years old in another month. So but it'd just be nice to get it to replicate that fault so we could be sure. Okay, it's just finished washing, so if I press the off button, light up, you hear the dump valve open, the drain valve, and then that little timer is going clicking around again. So it's just going to go past that position, and then it will turn off again. And what we got was when it played up, it got past that, put it onto wash again, timer just barely moved, and then it just sat there with this valve open. That, I had a click then, so has that gone off? Nope. That is your drain timer, I think. When it drains, it pauses, I think it pauses the motor, and this holds the drain valve open for a set time. That's probably adjustable, so you can put a longer drain time on a bigger tank, something like that maybe. Anyway, that's what I think that does. Yeah, so it's just gone off. And you heard that valve possibly shut. So that's just gone past 12 o'clock. It sort of runs anti-clockwise. So if we push and hold the wash button down, that valve opens again, just to drain any milk out of that pipe that's come out once the tanker man's put the blanking cap on. And let's see. There, see, we've got power on there now. I wonder if that goes off at any point. Power on there. When it was playing up, yeah, I've had the cold water valve open, so that water's coming out. So when it was doing it before, we had no power on that connection. Press off. And the only place that gets power from, that's our motor, that's our TR2 timer. It is fed from the level sensor, which is going to be open circuit because there's no water in the tube. To C4, which is one of the contacts on this here that runs this pump, which is obviously off. And the only other place it gets it from is this switch here, which is on there. So for it not to have worked, it's got to be that switch. When we tested it, we had power on the blue terminal, which is that bottom one, and we had nothing on the ones above it. And with it being a changeover contact, one of the others should have been live, I think. Although I'm not sure which one is the changeover contact, because that would only work if we was on the right one, wouldn't it? What did I say it was here? No, it wouldn't work because the live is on. No, that's right. The live is on one of the outputs rather than the input. So if that was swung over this way, those two would both be connected. And that would be needing to get power feed from the level sensor. That's how, when that's over that way, it's waiting on this. So it looks like either that cams wall or that switch was off when it should have been on. Of course it's not doing it now, but once I sort of moved that round to get a better test on it with the probe, it started working. So I just wonder whether that flex in was enough to make contact. I might turn the power off and have a play with that switch, pull the wires off it. Okay, we've actually pulled the switch out. They just seem to slide out. Live and learn. And there must be a little cam in there that it pushes. There's a little finger, I think, that goes around the cam, and it's like a little L shape. And as the finger goes around the cam, that's what pushes on that. So it could even be just the cam's worn out, because if it's 20 years old and they're on everyday pickup, so that's 10 years, what's it'd be 3,000 or something, wouldn't it? See, 7,000, 6 or 7,000 washes. I think you used to be able to get these switches as a spare part. I expect they're just standard switches, so I took a picture of it. We might see if we can get a switch. I did one of these before, and they actually had a spare. They had a spare switch on there. I think we could reuse, and it was an older wash system, I think. Yeah. Anyway, I might have a play with this with a meter and see how the reading, see if it's switching cleanly. Okay, back again on this timer. I've managed to get a load of Cruzette or something like that. I can't remember now. A load of little made in Morocco. Hopefully they're going to be the same switch. And then we've got some coloured pens, so we're just going to put a little coloured mark here, and then 1, 2 and 3, or none. No, probably got 1, 2, 3 dots on each one as we take them off, and then that way, even if we got all the wires mixed up, we'd know where they go and in which order. So I've got 3 that side and I think 4 that side, so I've got 10 switches, so I've got some spares. I think it's that one that's playing up, but they're all the same age, so we might as well change a lot of them. So that one is not connected. That is, and then it should switch over when the switch is in. That one isn't made. Hang on. Oh, now that's connected. So that kind of confirms that switch when it's off, it's not making contact across there. So that kind of confirms what we thought. Had some fun, that's broken. I think it was a flat screw head. We went through all the Allen keys and none of them fitted. Then we tried a small screwdriver and it felt like it cracked loose, but all it had done was split the head of the screw in half. Then that come loose. Anyway, we've had to heat that up with the nat gas. Just to sort of shock it loose. But you don't want to go too hot because the brass will actually melt, but we got the just the end of the steel just a dull red, and then let it cool down. It come loose. It was more or less finger tight then. So we're going to have to find a screw that will fit that, or tap a different thread in there or something. Okay, now we've got that out there, I can see how this works. So just clip in, but what you have to do, if you look at that edge, see that little ramp with an edge, you have to get your finger on there and push, just put a bit pull that back a bit so that comes past the edge of the switch, and then with a screwdriver or something, just lever it up and it just pops out. Okay, that's all those changed. And we've got we've got 3 spares if we get another one somewhere else, that we could get it going. Okay, we've got a screw starter, and then we've got this little thing here that holds the nut until you get it started on there. Sort of. Okay, that was a 3mm thread, so I cleaned the thread up with a tap, and I found that longer screw. I'm going to leave that in there because it will transfer some of the drive through the bits of plastic, so we're not relying on that brass hub gripping in the plastic knob. And then you can see the screw head there if you've got to take it out again in the future.